Throughout my life, I've been called a variety of very hurtful names. Ugly, fat, stupid, useless. But the one that seems to be sticking around more recently, and the one being actively pushed by our own government, alien. A foreigner from another country who does not belong to the place they currently live. Under Donald Trump's current administration, he is pushing, among many things, for all illegal immigrants to be deported from the United States of America. Now, completely ignoring the fact that I am a legal U.S. citizen who was born in Richland, Washington, the most American place in the country, Donald Trump's efforts are often put into question, not only for their morality or their kindness, but for their constitutionality. Many people argue whether or not Donald Trump's efforts against immigration are constitutional or not. And while technically, as they currently exist, Donald Trump's efforts are completely constitutional, many people and organizations label them as cruel and unethical, serving more as a spectacle rather than a meaningful policy change. And most importantly, ever since his first term, Donald Trump has been pushing to completely repeal one of the most well-known constitutional amendments. So while Donald Trump's current anti-immigration efforts are technically constitutional, they are labeled as unethical and can quickly become unconstitutional based on Donald Trump's current attempts to combat them. But first, we have to look at what the White House itself has to say about Donald Trump's efforts. According to the White House on January 22nd, 2025, Donald Trump's anti-immigration efforts are completely supported under Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, which states that, among many things, the President has the responsibility to fight against invasion of all states. The White House interprets this as meaning that the President not only has the right, but the responsibility to protect states from the mass entering of people who do not belong to the United States, which is what immigration is. The White House, under Donald Trump's administration, fully supports his efforts, saying that they are the only way to combat immigration, and the only way for Donald Trump to uphold his constitutional duties as president. But although Donald Trump's actions are constitutionally supported, many organizations don't support them. One of those is the Center for American Progress. On February 22nd, 2025, the Center for American Progress claimed that while Donald Trump's actions are constitutional, they break a major rule of his administration. Rather than focusing on meaningful policy change and on actively pursuing a better future with anti-immigration policies, his policies are labeled as being more about shock and awe and sparking controversy over immigration rather than solving the issue at hand. Some of the policies that the Center for American Liberty cites are that Donald Trump has cut programs like SNAP and Medicaid for immigrants, cut Head Start daycare programs, made it impossible or at least very difficult for medical clinics to access their public funds, and most controversially of all, stated that schools and churches alike are no longer sanctuaries, meaning that police officers can legally enter sacred and educational spaces to arrest people who are labeled as illegal immigrants. According to associations like the Center for American Progress, his actions aren't about meaningful policy change, but rather about hastily implementing as many measures as possible to make immigrants' life as difficult as possible until they can be deported. But one of the most often criticized aspects of Donald Trump's anti-immigration efforts are that ever since his first term, he has actively been trying to repeal a key constitutional amendment. According to the American Civil Rights Union on January 28, 2025, Donald Trump's attempts to repeal the 14th Amendment, which states that all American-born and naturalized citizens are legally U.S. residents, Donald Trump has been actively trying to repeal the 14th Amendment or implement implement measures that would make it not apply to immigrants born in the United States. His policy in this situation goes directly against what the White House claims. Because while the White House claims that he is perfectly in his duty as president to rally for the mass deportation of immigrants, ever since his first term, according to NPR, he has been attempting to repeal this amendment, leading to almost 3 lawsuits only in the first month of his second term. Even though Donald Trump and the administration backing him claims that his actions are constitutional and his civil duty as president, some of his more controversial policies show the complete opposite, with him actively trying to repeal the Constitution that he claims is supporting what he does. While what Donald Trump is doing currently is completely constitutional, many organizations label it as a cruel attempt to spark awe and controversy, and other people even label it as blatantly unconstitutional, with repeated attempts to repeal a key constitutional amendment that guarantees the citizenship of millions of people. Donald Trump's actions could quickly become unconstitutional, and although his current plan is simply to label people born in fully American cities as aliens, his actions are far from silly childhood banter.